Let's hit this with in the Discord, baby.
Hit the Discord.
Ooh, I don't like this. It says I'm live and I don't see my face on there. Oh, wait. Hold it. Holding. Ooh.
Hold.
This may be a quick internet reset before we get going here because I don't like the looks of this. Oh, you do? Okay. That's all that matters. I don't see it on my end for whatever fucking reason. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I see us. Good. Hey, everybody. We're live. Sorry, just working out some kinks on my end. Computer's being a little wonky right now, and I just didn't see us live, so I thought I'd double check. But apparently it's happening. So, hi! Welcome to the live stream! It's me and my buddy Seth. He's back again, baby!
It's a me.
It's a me! Is March Madness happening right now?
It's still February, so technically it can't.
What do you mean it can't? Oh, fuck you. Oh, fuck you. Is this like the first four kind of bullshit that's going on right now?
They might be doing like that play-in game.
Yeah.
Stuff. I'll admit I am pretty detached from it.
Oh, so am I. Someone brought it up
Well,
today. That's the only reason why I thought about it. I was like, oh, right. We're doing that now, aren't we?
I'd be doing. I used to run the polls, like the pools, actually, not the polls.
Yeah.
Where the bracket pools and stuff like that. I was the one of the designated people at my workplace who was trusted with doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, not having a physical workplace anymore, I don't do that.
Yeah, I think for a couple years, like I just had like I never bought into like a bracket or anything like that. I just sort of like would make my own just for fun and just watch and see what happened. And I'm always such a stickler to rankings. I have a hard time getting out of my head with like rankings, and then they don't mean shit, you know?
I mean, some of them do, right?
Obviously, like, if you've got a number 1 and a 10, I'm probably going to lean on the 1 on that one, you know? But still, it's...
Right, like the ones typically get there for a reason.
Yeah, typically.
And anything below, I think, any 13 and below is pretty much like, yeah, your odds are pretty slim. But
yeah,
2 and 12, there's some action within there.
There's some shit going on. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's weird because I don't follow the stuff at all. But I guess Purdue's one of the number 1 seeds. That's crazy. Kansas, Houston, what? And Alabama. Those are not your typical number 1 seeds.
Houston, not so much. No. Purdue, it's been a long time for them.
Yeah.
Then Bama's kind of, I believe it. They're just.
But Alabama, that's like football, man.
But Kansas is the only one that's like a yearly like.
Yeah, that's a classic one. I'm looking for some of the.
Where's our Kentucky and our.
Yeah, right.
Gonzaga.
Duke's a 7 seed. Kentucky's a 6 seed.
Villanova.
Yeah, where are we at here with all this shit? Xavier's a 4 seed.
Xavier down in Cincy.
Memphis is a 10. UConn's a 4. Yeah, this is I'm missing Control F, baby. Villanova.
Maybe they fell off.
They're not there. They're not on the bracket.
Damn.
Dun. Interesting. This has been your NCAA bracket update from a couple of guys who don't follow it.
There's a bracket.
Yeah. Hey, brack this, bitch. Yeah, I don't. I got nothing. I got nothing on that. Just like I nothing the Super Bowl this year. My brother called me. He's like, "Hey, man, can you believe Philadelphia is being this aggressive?" I'm like, "Huh? Oh, I'm not watching the Super Bowl right now. I'm taking a shit." Like,
I mean, okay, so living where I live, I had to pay attention because I had to know what kind of disturbances were going to be occurring.
Yeah.
Right. Was it going to be angry, depressed disturbances, or was it going to be the jovial, happy disturbances? Which, by the way, the angry, depressed ones are far less noisy than the excited,
the victories.
Happy ones. I remember when Philly won the Super Bowl last time. Fireworks were heard until the wee hours of the morning.
Until the following year. Until the following Super Bowl.
I mean, look, They greased the poles.
Yeah.
And they needed
for a reason. Yeah. Yeah, no, I used to joke that if the Cubs ever won the World Series, that Chicago would burn down. And oddly enough, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. It was pretty chill when they won the World Series. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, it's been over 100 years. I figured this is where you let it all hang out. But no, it was...
And not just 100 years, but 100 years of feeling like they were cursed.
Right. And not only that, it came down to 7th game. You know, it was... I remember my boss at the time, she was like sick all day just thinking about it because she was a big Cubs fan. She was just like, oh my God, we have to pretend to train today when this is going on. And then, of course, the day after, everyone was like, you know, hungover because they're like, we had fun. We celebrated. I'm like, yeah, that's all cool. We got to roll with this. This is a once in a lifetime thing. This doesn't happen all the time. So you gotta roll with it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Imagine that generations of people just like waiting for this to happen, and people literally were born and died without seeing the Cubs win a World Series. That to me is hilarious.
That's how I'm starting to feel about the Lions in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, hang in there, man.
Generations of futility.
It's got to hang in there, baby. It'll happen when you least expect it. Right?
When I'm dead, I won't expect it then.
Yeah, right. That's when it's going to happen.
I won't expect shit.
Nobody expects it when you're dead, because you're dead. Oh man, this is funny. All right. Well, I sure hope this stream's going okay. I mean, it seems like it is. So that's all.
I mean, I know that we're not gonna have our at No Reno in the chat.
At No Arno out enjoying the world, exploring Italy with his wife.
Not in Italy yet.
Not yet. He's on his way there. So.
Yeah, he's on his way to like a plane to get on another plane.
Exactly.
He said, and I quote, that he would listen to this on his way back from Europe.
Oh, that's cool. So in 2 weeks?
So we have that assurance. Yes, that's what
good.
We get.
Well, Noah, we would love you regardless. Safe travels. I hope everything turns out well. Hope you have a wonderful time in Italy. Hope it's a good time.
I was very saddened to hear of your arrest while you were there.
Mm-hmm.
Also
putting your dick in the mouth of a fountain, you know, of a cherub, doesn't go over well over there, you know.
Look, Aphrodite didn't deserve that.
She sure didn't, you know, just because she's a statue.
Well, Venus, let's be fair.
That's right, version. Because because they had to reskin everything as the Romans do, you know.
Right.
Take something good, just rename it.
Like Overwatch went and reskinned everything that Paladins did.
Yeah, right. Or they reskinned everything that Team Fortress 2 fucking did. Jack-offs. Unbelievable.
This is the part that won't even make the podcast where you even get to listen.
All right. This is for just the cool streamers only. The people that check the live stream, this is for you. This is the people that just watch the podcast or listen to it. They don't get this juicy bits. The juicy titty bits, you know. They don't get them. Just you. And the jokes that we make about Noah at Noah's expense, you know? Because at the end of the day...
Nobody cares.
And, oh, my God. Because, you know, when Noah got in that fountain and whipped his dingle out, he just, you know, turned to the heavens and said...
Oh, my God, I'm right above.
And then that was it, you know?
Because it was a fountain. It was absolutely showing some signs.
Yeah, it was. Well, because when he was done... I mean, as it happens, you know, when you're in a fountain, you know,
showing some signs of being fucking wet.
And he's aggressive. He feels guilty afterwards, and then when he's feeling bad, out popped everyone's favorite Ozzy, who said,
"I put my dick in worse."
And then
that was even true.
Yeah, it's not true. He really hadn't, but he was just trying to be a good friend. You know, just trying to be a good friend, and then. Noah just laughed and said,
"Did you know that squirt is pee? And did you also know that I don't care?"
You know? And then he walked away, and that's when he got arrested, you know? Because later that night, when he returned to the scene of the crime to do it all over again, they were just waiting for him, you know? Classic Italian stakeout, you know? And that's how it works.
Italian stakeout. And meatball subs and all.
Meatball subs, and then they just popped out from behind, you know, a bunch of bushes, and they're
surprise, motherfucker.
You know, classic Italian, you know, and he was like, "Hey,
all right, chill your tits."
But they're like, "Nope," and he tried to run, but he's like, "Ah,
I have plantar fasciitis."
And then they said, "Enjoy your time in jail, because you know
I will haunt your butt."
That last one was a stretch, but But when he was in jail, he was getting pounded. He said,
Fuck me, slutty.
And this has been Mind Gap Podcast.
Good night, folks.
Good night. And in the corner, you just heard as it all went down.
The cellmate.
Oh, wow. As I just was going through, the guards are like,
Nice.
And then next door, people are like, keep it down. And all they hear is, and it just didn't stop. All right. Okay, I got to quit now. This is just ongoing.
Board, create a story.
We did it. We win. Game's up. Let's go. Let's hit record. All right. We are recording. And in 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Mind Gap Podcast. I'm Doug. And joining me once again to fill in for the mighty Justin is Seth. Welcome back, Seth.
Thank you, Doug. I'm glad to be back filling in for the mighty Justin.
You know what? After last week's episode, all I heard online was,
Nice.
That Seth was here. And so I was like, all right, we got to bring him back. We got to bring him back because, Justin he's out there. He's out there in the world, and he's made a promise to keep our world and, more importantly, our dimension safe. So he is currently interning with the Sorcerer Supreme to make sure that the immigrants don't come in through the portal because they're building a wall to the other dimensions, to make sure that they don't just come in here all willy-nilly to take our jobs. So he's going to see if it's
I
all...
thought he was with the time cops, but
the time cops.
I was misinformed.
Yeah, it's actually the Sorcerer Supreme trying to stop interdimensional immigrants. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows in this day and age? The world is a vampire, as Jesus once said. Man, I'm all warmed up after our pre-hit record shenanigans. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling lively.
Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness 316.
God damn right, baby. Do you remember the name of that song? Because I don't actually. It's. Hold on. Bullet with Butterfly Wings. There we go. I was like, fuck, why don't I know this? Yikes, we off the rails tonight. Goblin, you have no idea, buddy. You have no idea.
The rails were never here.
No, they weren't. They were destroyed. And we're just doing the best that we can. But we're glad you're here, Goblin. We're glad that you all are here checking us out live at youtube.com/MindGapPodcast. That's right. We live stream every Tuesday at 7 or 8 p.m. Central, depending. We're flexible with our guests. Seth needed it to be later, so here we are later. And you can come hang out with us, chill with us, chat with us. You could be like Seth a couple weeks ago and derail the whole show just with one little comment.
From the chat. And
yeah.
Then you get invited to come on and derail it in person.
Right? I mean, that's special. That's really special.
And here we are right now. No rails. Rails have been completely abolished.
That's right. You might say it's unrailed. That's what we are. Mm-hmm. We are unrailed right now. And it's always a good time. So come check us out there if you feel like it. It's fun. Also, check out our Discord. It's in the link down below in the description. Join us. Come be a part of the family. We just got a new family member tonight. Just joined us, which brings me to my next thing. If you'd like to support us, hit the like button on the YouTube channel. If you're watching it, hit it. It's free. Costs you nothing.
Smash it for your boy, Doug.
You can smash it, or you can gently press it. I don't care. Caress it. I don't know. Do your love language, whatever it is.
Literally, however hard you press that mouse button, the register on the other end, it doesn't actually matter.
No, it doesn't. I mean, it matters that you pressed it, but it doesn't matter how hard you pressed it. That's fine either way to me. And if you want to keep up with us and what we're doing on our shenanigans, hit the subscribe button, and we'll be in your feed, politely.
Right. We will not be held liable for any mice or other peripherals damaged in the process of smashing your like button.
Yeah.
That's part of the disclaimer if you go all the way to the bottom.
Those are the social norms we live with in this day and age. So get on board. And then if you'd like to support us further, you can check out our Patreon, patreon.com/MindGapPodcast, which shout out to Sal. Sal, thank you so much for contributing to the Patreon. You are a wonderful human. We appreciate your continued support, both financially and also for checking out the podcast on a regular. And Sal also joined the Discord, so welcome to the family, pal. Welcome to the party, pal! We're glad you're here. And you can also check out our merch at redbubble.com. Link is in the description down below. Go check that shit out and buy yourself something else. Upset Duck, welcome to the show. Couple of questions. How do you value what you contribute to... okay, let me try that again. I think this was a typo. How do you value what you contribute at the workforce? Second part, at which do you most can't the least? Okay.
Well, that second one's a lot.
Listen,
The first one I think we can talk on.
First of all, I love your screen name. Upset Duck. It's fucking dope. All right. Secondly, I don't know what kind of riddle you're sending my way. I know I'm off the rails tonight, but I don't know what that means. I can't do the math on it, okay? I'm going to need you to try. I'm going to try that again, all right? We'll be standing by for what you were writing there. That one came out a little weird, and that's okay. Because I do that all the time. I write stuff, and then I read it out loud. I'm like, Doug, what the hell were you trying to do there? That doesn't... In my head, it made more sense than when it came out my mouth. So, what are you going to do? But I'm excited to be here again. I was a little sleepy today. I had an extremely long meeting. It was 4 hours long today. It drained a lot of the emotions and the mental energy that I had. And I thought, dear God, I have to do a podcast tonight. I hope I'm able to summon the energy. And here we are. I'm summoning the energy. Happy to be here. And more exciting, something else I forgot to mention, I do host a video game live stream on Fridays at 8 p.m. Central. We did Broforce last week, which was a ton of fun. Noah, Seth, and I hopped on there, and that was a really silly and fun game, and I was very much looking forward to it. And I realized I haven't put any thought into what I'm doing for this Friday, but I'll figure that out.
Let's see. There's so many choices out there.
We got options. We could try our hand again at You Were Here Too, the second part. See if we can fumble our way through an escape room from hell.
It would be a fumble.
It would be.
Though, I will say, look, even though he's not here, that means he can't play the game. I feel like that game in particular is one.
Mm-hmm.
We want Noah in the audience.
That's true. Yeah.
We can't base all of our lives around everything about him and his shenanigans.
It's true.
But
I don't know. We'll figure it out. But stay tuned.
We will.
Fridays, 8 p.m. Central, video game live stream.
On Twitter.
Yeah. Or right here, whatever. Hit us up at all social media
Twitter.
at MindGap
Twitter's
Podcast.
his favorite.
Fucking love Twitter.
Best.
It's, just do it without a condom. That's how much I love it. It's so great. And more importantly, Seth, D&D, Saturday, buddy. We're heading back into it. Are you excited?
I am.
It's been about a month.
It's been a long time, it feels like.
Yeah, we've, in case you all don't know, I'm hosting a D&D, not a one-shot, but a mini-series with Seth, with Justin.
A one-shot?
Mm-hmm.
And this is like session 6 or 7?
I also was very clear that this wasn't a one-shot, that we could take several sessions, but it wasn't like a full-on campaign. It was basically like a scenario, and it's definitely taking a lot more because I can't control myself when it comes to being creative. But Seth is playing, Justin's playing, Drew is playing, Eric and Kaya, they're all playing. We've got a wonderful group, and it's exciting because it's something that I've homebrewed, and I'm trying it out. I'm terrified that something's going to go wrong, but so far things have gone pretty well, and I'm excited because I feel like we're on the cusp of actually getting to the big, juicy bits of this story. Everything up to this has essentially been an extended tutorial. So it is what it is. But why are you typing into the chat? What did you put? Why do they call it oven when you in the cold food of out eat the hot food vibes? I hate you.
Haven't you ever heard that? Have you ever heard that copy pasta?
I've seen something similar to that, and it makes my brain hurt. It makes my soul hurt. It makes my butt hurt, okay? It hurts all things.
Upset Duck's second question, at which do you most can't the least, really made me feel a lot like why do they call it oven?
I feel like they're living up to their name. I feel like that was like Donald Duck that was writing that. He's like, couple of questions, and he just starts like ranting and raving as he's like spits out this nonsense. I'm like, oh my God. That was, by the way, perfect Donald Duck, if I do say so myself.
Yeah. The folks over at Disney are going to be copyright striking you.
They were like, we'll give them that one. Everyone gets one. That's a freebie. That was a freebie. No, but I'm super excited for D&D this Saturday. I think it'll be good. For all of you who don't know, a little inside baseball here. I'm actually recording these sessions, and I'm going to be sound designing them, doing all sorts of cool stuff, and then eventually releasing them so you all can enjoy the adventure as well. So don't hold your breath.
I will say too, for a group of first timers, the role play is very robust.
Man, super big kudos to, because you've played before, but Justin,
Yes.
Drew, Eric, and Kaya have not. Eric played some like years ago, like second edition, so it's been a long time.
He was a very big regular as a part of the board game.
Yes.
edition, as Justin was as well.
Yes.
But as we well know, the fantasy board game and the tabletop RPG experience are very far apart.
Very far apart from what true D&D is. And I have to say, I'm very impressed with the role-playing as well. Like, everyone has really, like, just sort of slipped into it very well, and it tickles me endlessly. It's been very, very fun. So I'm super excited because, ahead of you lies a shit ton of role-playing. So I'm very curious to see how everyone basically goes on to solve the problems that lie in front of you. So I can't wait. I'm excited.
I am here to continue to be a thorn in the side of any time that this game tries to get serious.
You know what? I don't think that's true. I don't think that's what I don't perceive you as that way of like being like whatever. I think it's endearing because Seth, tell everyone a little bit about the character that you're playing. Like just a real quick, like 1 minute summary of who you are.
So I am playing ARD-13, otherwise known as Artie, a Warforged artificer who had been created by a very powerful wizard, abandoned in a cave for centuries, uncovered, and now is just trying to find his way in the world and learn about the society of man, being a unique creature in this world, an automaton in a world of organic beings.
That's very well done. It's almost like you would have thought we rehearsed that and we didn't. You just like fired that off. That was very impressive.
That's how well I know my character.
You're like, that's who I am, Doug. I'm Artie. And he also has like a hint of Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy where he doesn't get sarcasm. He doesn't get, anything like that.
Most social cues are a little bit beyond his ken, his ability to process efficiently.
Yeah.
And so he I personally have a great deal of fun being socially awkward.
Hey, that comes natural to me. So,
Exactly. I'm leaning into something that used to be the plague of my existence in high school, middle school, and college.
What was one of the things that, like, socially awkward moments that you remember? Like, was there something that you did, like, regularly or something that bothered you in social interactions that, like, just plagued you? Or do you have a memory of something?
I still do to this day.
Okay.
I feel like I have this disconnect when I like to talk about myself and I don't listen to other people or even give them the opportunity. Like, people will ask me questions about myself and then I will talk freely. And then I will not actually then follow up with people and ask them questions about themselves, which would be polite. I just let the conversation die after I have expended all of my ammunition on myself. And I'm just like, okay, well, that was fun for me. See ya. And I'll then think back on it later and be like, God damn it. Yet again, I have talked about myself, and then the polite thing to do is then, oh, and what about you? And then I don't do it. And every time I don't do it, I'm like, I look back, I'm like, I did it again.
Yeah. That's interesting. I just remember just smallest social faux pas will plague me for years. I'll be like, hey, remember that time that you just said that wrong thing at that wrong time? I'm like, God, you're so stupid. Ugh. Like, I'll find myself literally like
just
going.
The other day, I thought back to the first one I had with you and Justin.
Which was
my usage of the word omnipotent. Which you two leapt upon with such incredible vigor.
I totally forgot about omnipotent. Justin are both like, wait, I'm sorry, what? You're like, omnipotent. We're like, whoa. What? How do you, what?
Which, for those of you at home who haven't, it was just perhaps my fun way of saying omnipotent.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was one where I'm like, ooh, I can't let this one go.
Still think back on that one a little bit.
I was like, I have to say something. Oh, I'm sorry if I made you feel bad about that. It was just very silly to me.
No. See, that's the thing, because like we're all friends, right? We're all friends now, especially. Like at the time, it was a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because we were still learning each other a bit.
Yeah.
But now we're well past that.
Yeah. Now we're in the breaking balls stage of things, where it's like that's how we show our
now
love.
we're in the things I've said on purpose since then far exceed that.
Of course. Yeah. That's something else I've realized, like looking back, that that makes me really sad is sometimes my love language is being silly with someone in a way that like is poking fun, but my intention is not malicious. It's just like, hey, this is fun. We're celebrating something silly, something dumb that we do. But I'm looking back and I'm like, I made a lot of people feel really bad. Like because what it was is, it was fun at someone else's expense. I wasn't trying to make it at someone else's expense. I was like, this is fun. We're having fun with this thing. But when I look at it from a different perspective, I'm like, oh, they probably thought I was being a dick to them, like big time. And I didn't mean to, but that's exactly how it came off.
The same thing. Like sometimes the people who I enjoy the most, I will rag on or pick apart the most in like utilize my knowledge of them to make jokes at their expense.
Yes.
And it's only for people who I genuinely like that much that I ever do that, because everyone else I'd be too afraid.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to do that. And then I'm like, wait, but if they don't know that that's how I feel about them, and if they're not, they just feel like, wow, did he just pick to be an asshole tonight?
Yeah.
And I did this with Noah for quite a while. I do sometimes, I feel like.
You did during the stream on Friday, which was great.
Yeah.
Making fun of him from Overwatch stuff, which I thought was great.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's only for the people who I really like the most that I'll dig in on you that hard.
Yeah.
And pull out these like obscure pieces of information and try to make it funny. Yeah.
That's what Jackbox games is most of the time, is we basically just dig at each other, and that's the best.
Right?
That's the best. It's so much fun.
Before I even knew you that well, the depths I was willing to go to pick apart your personality.
Yeah.
At that point, you were so. I was always in awe, actually, back then, of how graciously you took it each and every time.
Not anymore.
Because the entire lobby would just like dogpile on Doug.
But it's funny. That's always my thing. Is like, if it's funny, how can I be mad? It's good. It's a good joke. It's when it's not funny that I'm like, okay, like, do better. Like I don't. I say this in general, but man, like, I am the first one to make fun of myself. Like, that's kind of like a defense mechanism or something. But especially, when I was a facilitator in a room full of adults, like for onboarding and new hire training, and sometimes the best way I can ingratiate myself is just making fun of myself, and not taking myself too seriously. Someone who takes themselves too seriously and doesn't have a sense of humor, I'm like, I don't really have time for you, because that's not going to be a very enjoyable experience for anybody if they're too uptight and they can't really, accepting your flaws and then using those flaws to laugh. I think that's one of the greatest gifts in the world, is being able to do that. Doing something stupid and be like, hey, did you all just see the stupid thing I just did? And laughing at it, creating humor out of your stupidity is one of the best things.
I'll tell you what, I can say this both as an outside observer of you doing it, but also as somebody who utilizes it myself in my profession. It puts people at ease, I think, when you're the first one in to make a fuck up, point it out, and first off, I'll make it, I'll point it out, and then I'll make the joke about it, which then takes it off the table for anybody else.
Yes.
But it puts everybody at ease, because like, oh, okay. This is this kind of environment, and this is a place where we have fun.
Yeah.
And I utilize a lot of those strategies too when I'm heading up calls and leading meetings and stuff like that, and doing like learning sessions. I generally start off with like 5 minutes of banter, like my type 5, honestly.
Nice.
It's not even it's different every time. But yeah, it's like a little comedy bit, self-degradation, gets out there, light stuff, and then launched into the meat of the presentation, and everybody's got it's a little bit lighter and breezier.
I agree. I feel like one of my favorite moments where this happened is I just misspoke. I was in a new hire class, and we're talking like our new hire classes included everybody. It was like
orgasm instead of organism.
Close. We had like entry level folks, and we also had like senior level folks. Also, everyone in the exact same like onboarding class. And I forget what I was trying to say, but I said and have sex with. That's like what came out, but that wasn't what I was supposed to say. And I just paused. And I kind of looked at everybody, and I was like, I didn't mean to say that. And like everyone, just the way I delivered it, like everyone had a great big laugh. We had a good moment together, and we got back to it. It's just one of those moments where I think that's where improv comedy has also helped me out so much. Is like the mistakes are the gifts. Those are the things you have to pounce on and be like, hold on, what did you just say? And then just enjoy them.
I do want to do a hold on now. What were you supposed to say?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I was probably like, this is a cow. Don't have sex with it. But instead I was like, this is a cow. Have sex with it. And people were like, hey, you're not supposed to have sex with that.
Wait a minute. That's not.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I don't know how things are where you work. If that's stuff that has to be spelled out at your workplace, cool.
Yeah. Don't have sex with cows, y'all.
That's a different workplace.
It's a different place, man. It's a different place. But yeah, I love a good joke that's funny, and I think that's what it always is for me. Like if I'm at the butt of a joke and it's funny, I'm gonna laugh. I'm gonna laugh just as hard as anybody else because God damn it, that's good.
Now let me ask you this: have you noticed that the bar for what is a funny joke when you're in a work environment is so much lower than literally any other experience in life? Like you can get away with such lower quality work at work when you're using comedy than I think anywhere else.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna reference a message that Justin and I sent us this morning as he was traveling as a perfect example of that. Justin sent us a message saying, at the airport, some drilling sound starts and rattles the walls a little bit. One of the guys at the counter makes a fart joke. Sorry, I ate some chili last night. And the other two employees staying there absolutely cracking up, making me question if they grew up without fathers, because that's some prime 90s dad joke shit.
What a leap to make.
Yeah.
You laughed at that joke? Did you grow up without a father?
Yeah. Did you only just watch the TV? Because that's the thing is, that's why I feel like going to comedy shows, there's always that asshole, at least one in the crowd, who thinks, I'm the funny guy where I work, so I can give this a try. And it's like, no, you really can't. Like that's like, hey, I was really good at Mario Kart in my house back in the day on Super Nintendo until I played someone who was fucking phenomenal, and it changed it rocked my world. Right. I started dating a girl who knew how to do the slide technique, and she hammered my little butthole to pieces, and I was like, what? Huh?
She slid into your DMs.
Yeah, she was like, let's do Rainbow Road. I'm like, what the fuck? Why? She just zipped around the track. I'm like, oh my God, you have to play my brother. That's the thing. And then like, she sits down with Dave.
On my brother's butt.
And she hammered his little butthole, and he got very angry. I was like, hey, why don't you play her? She likes to play. He's like, okay. She starts playing. She goes, oh, so you're doing that cheap, sliding shit? I was like, yeah, man, she's really fucking good, But in that world, it's like, oh, I'm really good. That's why the internet and playing games really rocks your world, because you're like, oh, I'm average at best at most things, because there's always someone that's better. And it's the same thing with comedy, right? Like in your little circle, you can be good, but you kind of have to find. I mean, if you're interested in it, you have to realize that there's other ways. Like when I was doing improv, most of our shows were for other improvisers. So we were very critical of ourselves because we were playing for people who also knew, like they were like playing, like doing magic trick for other magicians. We knew how the sausage was being made. We understood all the things. So some of that actually made it better because we understood the nuances of what we were doing. And then I realized when we played for Muggles, people were like, holy shit, you just made all that up? And I was like, yeah. I'm like, oh, right. You don't understand how this works. Or you go to like a Second City show for a bunch of people and they're like, this is magic. They don't. I'm like, oh, right. The rest of the world doesn't understand this or hasn't seen this like we have. So it actually is like, it's the people are like, you're funny as hell. I'm like, oh, thank you. Like it gives you a little bit of relief because you're like, oh, actually this is interesting as you try to practice your craft, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, it's like it's all I can do sometimes too. To like, there's like that little bit of like when you tell a really good joke, like a joke that would fare outside of the work environment, that would get laughs outside of that, and you know it, like when you do it,
you know it,
and then somebody else tells something that is only viable within that work experience, and it gets the same level of laughter. And you're like, yeah, no, that's not right.
Like, listen, mine has
sometimes be like, look, okay, that was a fraud. And it doesn't deserve the same level of laughter as what I did.
Listen, mine has greater reach, so therefore, it's better. Right. I think we can agree that that's better, right?
Like, theirs was a regular longsword that attacked the. Mine was a +4.
There you go. It was a +4 longsword. Yeah.
I don't know if the D&D reference there really makes it land, but
it lands with me.
That's what it feels like,
and that's all that matters. So, yeah. Anyway, looking forward to D&D. I think it's going to be a good one.
See, look at that. We just bring it right back around so nice and neatly.
Upset Duck. Have a good night. Sorry I didn't answer your question. Your follow-up was, for example, are you skilled at creating of when you have to grow to the Warhammer or trying when out there? However, when can you AMS every turn? It's a great question, and these are questions we'll get to. Sorry you have to go, question. But thank you for stopping by. We appreciate you.
It definitely satisfies the definition of a question.
It does.
In several regards, both starting with a question phrase and ending with a question mark.
Indeed. I could tell the intonation was there, so thank you. Thank you for hanging out with us. We appreciate you. All right. Well, we've got a fun topic tonight. We have a couple. Odds are we're not going to get to all of them because that's how we fucking roll, right, and that's okay.
We're 30 minutes in, and we're not even to one of them.
And ask me if I give a fuck. Ask me if I give a fuck. I don't. Spoiler alert. I don't. No, I don't. Ask. Sure don't.
That's a little of your fucks.
Sure don't, because we're having fun, and this is a natural, engaging conversation, and that's what it's all about. So you brought this up in our production meeting, which I realized I didn't even know was actually a thing, but Avatar: The Last Airbender they're doing a live action Netflix series. And I was like, wait, did I know this? And the more that I thought about this is like, I don't think I knew this.
Was it Berenstain Bears or Berenstain Bears?
Right. I was like, because I was confusing that with the My Hero Academia live action that they were doing, which I was like, why of all things would you choose to do that live action?
Didn't they learn their lesson from anything that they've done that was animated that they made live action, right?
Well, here's the thing. Death Note wasn't very good, but that was probably the easiest one, in my opinion, you could do. Like, one of the easier ones you could do, live action. Like, yes, there's like these demons and stuff that exist, but for the most part, it's about a kid using a magical journal to kill people. Like, that's a decent crossover.
It was and is atrocious.
Yeah. Very forgettable, which is unfortunate because,
The only good thing that came out of it was I watched that before I actually watched the anime.
Oh,
and that maybe like I want to be like, why do people like this anime so much? This movie was straight trash.
Drastically different.
Watch the anime, and I'm like, oh, this is actually decent on its own.
Yeah.
They ruined it.
Yeah. Bad.
Now I get the outrage.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like with My Hero Academia, I mean, if you're not familiar with the anime, it's essentially about 80% of the world that has superpowers, and there's wild shit that happens, and people. It's just like
And the most powerful people in the world are, of course, teenagers.
Yes, of course. They're being trained because that's how it works.
In Japan.
In Japan. Yeah, I'm like, don't do that. It's like Full Metal Alchemist. They're like, let's make this into a movie. I'm like, no, guys.
Right, they did that, didn't they?
They did it with Attack on Titan as well, where I was like,
wait, they did?
You didn't hear about this? Oh, dude, it looked terrible.
I can't imagine how bad that would have been.
Yeah, I remember seeing the trailer for it. I was like, guys, come on. No, what are you doing? No.
Because I heard the Full Metal Alchemist one was terrible.
I mean, they made 2 movies out of it so far. So.
Oh, my. Speaking of, did you ever watch the Dragon Ball Z movie?
No.
God, that's a steaming pile of garbage.
Sure didn't. Yeah, another one where, listen, I don't know much about the show. That one doesn't seem like it translates to live action very well either,
It doesn't at all, no.
So they should probably just not do that.
Literally, like, most episodes are 12 to 15 minutes of 2 guys screaming, standing still while they power up.
Mm-hmm.
And then getting right to the point where they're about to actually fight. And most of the fight, too, is just, like, punches and kicks that are so fast you can't see it and, like, blinking around the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's like most of the action. That's like the stuff that you wait for in that show, and like that's the big payoff moments.
Yeah.
But like most of it's spent like screaming heading up to that.
Yeah.
And then they'll break the episode right before they actually do that, and then you get into the next one, and they have to like get you back into it with like 5 minutes of screaming from the last episode before it launches into that big fight scene you've been waiting for like 2.5 episodes.
Sounds like it's just like an animated version of how we were conceived, just a lot of build up and
15
grunting.
minutes of screaming.
15 minutes of screaming, and then it's like, we barely saw what happened. It was over so fast, I'm sorry. Don't go. Give me some time to recuperate, and we can try again. Please? I'm sorry. All right, I'm tired. I'm going to bed. Yeah, no, the most that I've seen of Dragon Ball Z was, I think, 4 episodes in Italian. When I was traveling abroad and staying in a hotel in Italy by myself, I was just like staying at the hotel. I had some downtime. I was like, I wonder what's on. And it was Dragon Ball Z, and it was in Italian. I'm like, I kind of feel like even though it's Italian, I understand what's happening here. Like it still seems to translate.
That's not a show that contains a lot of depth.
Yeah.
The character growth is only in muscle mass. It's not really it's not known for its depth. So yeah, I think no subtitles either. Like there was no like English overlay.
Mm-hmm. No, it was just all Italian.
Just all Italian. Okay, you were at that point just processing sounds and images.
Yep, and I was like, I get it. I think that's the bad guy, and that really what you described is kind of what happened. Like there seems some decent build up, some conflict of some sort, but it took several episodes for much of anything to happen. So
right, within 4 episodes, you probably like the story, like the actual story moved forward like maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's kind of what I picked up from it. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So,
wow, as we've uncovered even more, it seems like this is even more and more of a farcical idea to like a My Hero Academia. Like, we're not learning our lesson here.
Well, listen. You and I both love Avatar: The Last Airbender. We love the show,
yes.
And I can't recommend that enough. Like, go watch it. It's on Netflix right now.
And Legend of Korra.
In Legend of Korra, also, yes, both solid. This was originally a Nickelodeon show. It starts off very childish in a way where it's a little bit tough to get into, but give it time and you'll fall in love with it. So it's a great story, and I wonder. I'm like, why do this live action? I don't feel like it needs a live action adaptation. Like I'll support it if it's good, but
I think the thing is too, like it already got a live action treatment.
Yeah, it did.
That's
we can't.
Famous.
We have to acknowledge
famous
that
for how terrible it was.
Yeah, it was pretty shitty.
Like,
it was
like I get it. Yeah, okay, we're trying to do a serialized show again, rather than trying to condense 3 to 4 seasons of a show into a movie, which is one movie, by the way, too. Like,
I'm sure they were planning on doing more, but
today's movie, I don't think they were, because back then it wasn't like now. Movies aren't thought of as a singular experience. It's almost always planned out to be at least a trilogy.
Well, I think they were stupidly going to do book 1 is one movie, book 2 is one movie, and book 3 is one movie, possibly do book 3 into 2 movies because that was the trend. But I'm like, you're going to cover, what was that, 24 episodes in 2 hours? Are you shitting me? That's crazy. It's a stupid idea.
And predictive. I mean, yeah, and it failed on a massive scale. So much so to the point that you are you have to be very precise when you talk about Avatar. And also too because there's that other Avatar out there. The other one that is for some reason wildly popular that I cannot for the life of me figure out why.
Nor can I.
But yeah, and I think too, obviously that movie had to be called, it had to be called The Last Airbender.
Yes.
Instead of it couldn't be called Avatar, The Last Airbender, because of all they're like, sorry, no, you can't go, you can't just throw this around lightly.
Yeah, no, so they're making a live action remake of this, which I'm curious because again, I love the show, so I want to be supportive of it. And they have a full cast. Apparently, according to this, they finished filming in 2022, allegedly. So
I'm gonna go heavy on the allegedly, right? It seems like, because the article that we read, it said that they finished filming in June or July of 2022.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming though that there might be, maybe there's reshoots out there and things like that.
Oh sure, yeah.
Like you were saying though, they have a very fleshed out full cast.
Yeah.
They did not leave any. Really, actually, you know what I will say. Maybe this too is me not remembering the order right. I think one of maybe the only groups of characters who I didn't see represented was Jet in the Forest Rebels.
Yeah, I think you might be correct that. So which they don't. I forget where they show up. Do they show up in season 1?
I thought they were a season 1, but they they very easily could have also been season 2. As far as my as loose as my memory is, because right now my relationship with Avatar is it's that show I put on to go to bed to. I've watched the series awake so many times that I can. It's like an old friend.
Sure. Yeah. No, I feel like. Yeah, I feel like we don't see them until season 2, but I could be wrong. So, because based on everything that they have, but you know what though? They've also got
they got Cabbage Guy.
They got Cabbage Guy. Well, he shows up in season 1.
Yeah,
because he's an ongoing joke. So you got to have him. But they've got they've got Azula cast, which doesn't show up until season 2. You've got Azula's friends, May.
Yeah, May and Ty Lee.
Yeah, so they've been cast.
Season 2.
Yeah, they've got Ty Lee's in there. June, Hakoda, Boomy, of course. The Mechanist, as we learned. Master Packer.
Which I didn't know that was that guy's name.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot. They've cast a lot of people for this, so they're in it to win it. But I don't know. I still have reservations about it because I'm like, man, what's the point, man?
What's the payoff?
Yeah, what's the payoff? We get to watch this in live action. Do we need to?
Are they adding anything to the story, or are they just retelling it in a cash grabby kind of way?
Yeah. See, are they pulling a Disney where they're like, hey, you remember all these animated things you used to love growing up? Well, we're going to give them to you again. Live action.
Yeah. Well, and then too, live action with enough CG to choke a horse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really interesting because this also comes on the heels of a lot of additional Avatar related content coming. It's re-entering the mainstream. It's re-entering the zeitgeist. It's because we're hearing I think part of that too. I saw that there's 3 movies planned, animated movies planned based on Kyoshi and Zuko, and then I cannot remember what the third movie was going to be about.
I can't remember either. But yeah, there's they've got some more stuff that's coming out, which is exciting.
Movies. They announced a new series coming out.
Mm-hmm.
There's the board game. There's the tabletop game assets which are out. I've seen the talk of a video game or two, and it's weird. It's the shows themselves are now like the original source material are now like out of, it's been a decade.
Yeah.
These things were left to like marinate.
Yeah.
And it's not like they were unpopular at the time. They're like now just being rediscovered. It's really curious. Why now?
Well, and it's important to note the original show creators are not involved with this either.
And I remember when I very first heard about this, I had a lot of hope because I heard that they were involved.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was like a catalyst where it's like, no, we're not.
Yeah.
That was like a big like, uh-oh kind of moment for me.
Yeah, it says here, like, the most exciting news early on in the project was the original creators of the Nickelodeon series would be involved. Unfortunately, the original creators, Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko, who would serve as executive producers, departed the project in mid-2020. So...
Right, that's before anything really formative happened. And...
yeah.
Like, Netflix already doesn't have a stellar track record of sticking to source material.
And here's the thing. That doesn't bother me depending on the show. Like, they deviated some on The Sandman, which was fine. Mm-hmm. Like, some of that stuff was cool. I don't mind when shows do that. I didn't mind when Amazon The Boys, like the Boys TV show is very different from the comic. And I'd argue in a lot of ways it's better.
It kind of had to be.
Yeah. Yeah, and in a lot of, I'd argue it's better for it.
While still also displaying things that I didn't think would ever be displayed.
Yeah.
On television.
Yeah. So I think there's some opportunity for that. With this, I'm like, how if they do deviate? I'm like, I hope it pays off because I don't see the benefit from deviating from this too much. Because the story is solid, it's straightforward, it makes sense. Like, in things like The Sandman, that's a world about dreams, and so there's some, in my opinion, fluidity into how that story is told and what goes on.
Neil was very closely
very involved,
tied to that project too. So anything that happened there did have his blessing. So that's
100%.
That's a very different, I think,
very true
way that all played out. Where this is not going to have.
Yeah.
Any kind of like blessing of the creator. I think
God, that's got to be weird to be those two guys and basically be like, hey, we're going to do this thing and you're involved and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore and you leave, but that's the thing that you created.
But we're still doing it.
God, that's got to be weird and scary, right? God, that's got to be weird.
The best outcome here, maybe it's a little bit, the best outcome is probably not what I'm about to say, but I think the best worst case scenario is that this goes the way of the Cowboy Bebop reboot, live action reboot did, where it was in no way what the original was, and it was not nearly as good. It wasn't that bad, but it made a lot of changes. It like deviated from the source in a way that like didn't need to happen, and it didn't bring back some of the things that we loved about the original.
Yeah,
and so it was its own thing. It kind of wasn't that great, but it also didn't tarnish the original either.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, it like just kind of like it bolstered like everybody's opinion of the. It was like, yeah, you know what? Gosh, the original really had it right. It's kind of just how we left that series, how I left at least that series feeling. And I am an unabashed like Cowboy Bebop is for me the top of the anime stack in terms of like it's what I recommend for people who are like on the fence about anime. And for me, one of the greatest accomplishments in the medium. In terms of and one of my favorite shows ever too.
I got about 8 episodes into that, and I was just like, I felt bad, but I remember reaching out to everyone being like, when does this get good? Like, yeah, it's good. I'm like, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it right now. It's Monster of the Week. I hate Monster of the Week. I can't stand it. I feel bad. I just if you're just listening, Seth. If you're just watching, Seth literally just like wheeled back in his chair, like I can't. I need to take a breath based on what Doug just said. He said some serious shit, and I feel bad because because some of the stuff you have to look at the time in which it came out. You know what I mean? Because it's like watching sometimes some older comedians and you watch their stuff, you're like, I don't see why they're so funny. It's because people have they've been built on top of their shoulders for so long that now when you look back at that, you're like, that's not that funny. Like, if you look at some old SNL sketch, yes, yeah, right.
Sam Kinison, his style of, and like Andrew Dice Clay, but I put Kinison above Dice Clay, but like such a gimmick. Which then, like, I think the only thing that later came, like Lewis Black, was, like the next in that kind of line,
right?
Like, let's just shout at people,
right? Yeah,
and let's just shout obscenities, and drop some jokes in between. But like, I get what you're saying there. It's like, it was very much a product of its time, and I think part of it for me too is when I was introduced to it was in my early teens, and I fell in love with it then, and then I've rewatched it many times throughout, and so it holds a lot of special sentimental value to me in that sense. Yeah, because of the time period when I like trying to get introduced to it now, I think is quite a bit different because it's also that much further from when it like that everything about it was newish. Yeah,
no, that makes sense because obviously it's like watching an older movie and seeing the editing techniques. And I'm like, move it along. I got it. But people were dumber back then, and they didn't understand. I need to see him walk from the car into the building to know that he actually went to the building, then walked to the lobby, and then got in the elevator, and went up to the elevator, and then went to apartment 1602, because otherwise, how did he get there? Did he teleport? Like, we've gotten used to these storytelling techniques. And so sometimes when I watch some of the stuff that's older, I'm like, oh my God, whatever. And Monster of the Week sort of stuff used to be the thing for so long. And whenever I find a show that does that, I'm like, I'm out. I need it.
It kind of is in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and the thing is, I know there's also a through line, right? That you start getting introduced to, like, Spike has a past, and there's stuff that's going that starts showing itself up. And I'm sure if I stuck through it, there would be a payoff, but I can't just, like, by episode 8, I'm like, dear God.
That's a thing, too, for me that I think I am particularly drawn to. I like stories that aren't dependent on being completely linear, where you're not getting fulfillment on the main story every week, but that slowly develop one over a course of time that then you pick up cues to, and especially, too, when you can look back at, like, oh, actually, I was being fed a bit of story here in the early goings. I just didn't know it yet.
I can appreciate that too.
Enjoy that stuff.
I can appreciate that too.
I recommended to you Adventure Time for you and Natalie. Adventure Time, especially like the first 3 seasons of that, are very much that. It's not necessarily Monster of the Week. It's like goofball scenario of the week, or sometimes it is a monster too. And then it's really not until like season 3, 4, 5. I mean, it has 11, where this through line starts to develop. And then once you get to like season 11, the callbacks to stuff that happened all the way back then, it's like, oh, wow. Yeah. And whether or not they thought it through or they just like cleverly were able to adapt the future to meet the past, I could care less. I'm still...
whatever. Yeah, no. I definitely appreciate... I think my problem is that every episode has like a singular thing that they have to resolve, and then they do, and then it goes on to the next episode. It's like, here's the thing, we got to resolve this, and we move on. And you could argue, most of the time, that's how a story does move forward. But sometimes I appreciate smaller arcs that bleed into an overarching arc. Is that right? Maybe, I don't know. But like,
it could be an overarching arc.
There we go. It's like, say something like, I don't know, The Witcher, that series and that show, right? Like, you watch, there's literally monsters, right, that we're fighting and doing, but sometimes it takes a couple episodes or a long, like an hour-long thing to be like, oh, what's going on? And you're learning more about Geralt and the world and different stuff like that as it's unfolding, and I can appreciate something like that. I mean, hell, even Arcane, which is one of my favorite shows of all time, is phenomenal, which Netflix, congratulations, you did a great job on that one. But again,
animated.
Very, very great animation, right? Yeah.
And that's like, they didn't try to go live action with it.
I think they were smart not to. Yeah, because
they had great success.
Imagine trying to do that live action. I just like, listen, animation has to be a pain in the ass. It's got to be expensive, but I have to imagine it's more expensive to do that in real life. Just The style of Arcane.
Well, speaking of expensive, one of the things we learned about this new Avatar series is just how expensive it's gonna be.
Guinness Book of Real Records. That's what it's called.
Of real records.
Not none of that fake shit. Guinness Book of World Records for, was it the most expensive? No, wait, what was it? I can't remember what it was.
No, I think they got the Guinness record for the set.
Yes, set was what most.
Like the biggest LED something or other set, like the biggest, most technologically advanced set to that point.
Guinness World Records Awards at ATI AS LED stage. So that's kind of what it was. Which that sounds cool. I'm glad they're using technology because they're going to need to for this. So I'm sorry. It was Guinness World Records Awards Atlas LED stage is the biggest in the world. That looks fucking dope too, by the way.
The picture does look really cool.
Let me see if I can pop this over to transition over so you can kind of see what this looks like. This looks really pretty fucking cool. God damn, that's got to be so nice as actors to be like, all right, cool, we're going to step in here. Like, you can tell from this picture, it looks like the water or ice or something like that. Not only that you have the lighting already there, so the color correcting guys don't have to be like, fuck, man, we got to fix so much shit. They just build it there while they're doing it, so it gives you something to act against.
From the Southern Water Tribe up to the Northern Air Temples, up to the Earth Kingdom.
Just the natural lighting and everything, it's got to be so much easier. It's got to make things so much better in post for these guys to do that. That's really cool. I think that's awesome.
Too. I mean, you think too about other live action ones with I think like Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Where they created those environments in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's also super duper impressive.
Yeah.
Because then you do but then we also too you have like stuff like the the Long Night, that episode that when I watched it I was like, wow, this is really dark. Can't see anything, and then I didn't realize that I was also among a legion of other people who were like, yeah, this is way too fucking dark, why can't we see anything?
Probably saved costs. It's my guess. That's my understanding of why a lot of times things are just darker, because it's less work you have to do in post to create and generate stuff. I
think I remember seeing at the time that it was something about like when they were doing all the editing of it, they were doing it on like studio quality equipment and like tuned equipment that like made it look fine for them, not realizing that most people don't have that, and so their experience would be very different.
Yeah, I don't want to go down that road of Game of Thrones because that's
fine.
just
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I'm like, it'd be nice to rewatch that up to season 6 and then just do a hard stop and just just
pretend it there
and just be like, that's where it ends. It ends right there because it was such a fucking. I remember season 6 just being like, this show is fucking incredible. Like just the music, everything that happened. I'm like, God damn, this is awesome. And then they farted out 7 and 8.
Source material, they stayed within it very well. They highlighted good points. They kept with it.
They deviated a lot, and I would argue for the best.
Well, that's the thing. Like they deviated when they had to, and it all worked. While they had once they ran out of source material, and they were left to their own devices. Well, now we're getting into it.
We're gonna do it.
But what I wanted to go back to, though, because it's funny that you brought it up when we talk about this, like sticking with the source material, is you brought up The Witcher, which is also under Netflix and undergoing a massive change because they refused to stick to the source material enough for Henry Cavill, for the lead, for Geralt.
Yeah.
And he just said, "Fine, enough, I'm out."
And now he's making a fucking Warhammer 40K movie, baby. Woo woo! I'm here for that. Yeah. Let's do it, baby.
The Witcher's loss is your gain.
Hey, listen, it's going from one fan area to another, and honestly, I've been itching for a Warhammer 40K adaptation. That is a rich world that is just waiting to be mined. And now also the neckbeard nerds out there will just be insufferable in so many ways because the nerds of that world are definitely a different breed.
Among the nerdiest, yes. And I remember too, like Tex, our friend Tex.
Yes.
He is a big he goes with it's not Warhammer, but the is it Mech?
Goddamn, Mech Warrior?
Yeah, Mech Warrior.
Is it Mech Warrior? Oh, fuck.
Think it is.
I don't think it is.
I'm gonna feel real bad.
Hold on. I'm gonna find out. Yeah.
But he always has some very strong opinions about what the owners of that story did to it.
BattleTech.
BattleTech, yes, that's it. BattleTech, yeah. MechWarrior is like
Yeah.
God, that was like a Super Nintendo game, I think.
Yes, something like that. Yeah.
He's big into the BattleTech universe. It was kind of like the analog to Warhammer that, in his eyes, always wasn't perverted as much.
Yeah.
And you can see right there, it's very dogmatic around the story of this. And from what I understand, the story is also filled with lots of dogma, and heresy, and things of the nature.
Oh my God, dude. Oh, because here's the thing. They've tried to make so many games in the 40K universe, and most of them are not good. They're not good. They can't.
Yeah, I haven't heard good things about the latest one.
What, Space Marine 2?
I thought it was like Dark Tide or something.
Oh, Dark Tide. Yeah, that's like yeah. I waited on that one. Actually, at Noah's discretion, he's like, yeah, it wasn't quite where it needed to be. So he said, get it on sale. Don't get it right away. But it's such a rich world, and you could go epic with it, or you could go very small scope and have a blast. Like it is such an interesting world, and I don't know what it is. Maybe because it's just a dark and depressing world that there aren't really heroes. I mean, there's some pretty bad guys, and there's maybe not so bad guys, but
there's guys who are bad, but just not to the level.
I mean, you take the humans, for example. Like, they had to unite the species to essentially prepare for alien invasion, like from horrific things that exist in the universe. In order to do that, they basically had to become fascists. They basically went from planet to planet to system. They say, join us or we will wreck your shit. And people were like, okay, we'll join you. And other people were like, no, they're like, fucking nuke that planet. And so, like, they basically force people. They don't live good lives, but they're like, this is what we have to do to survive as the Imperium. Yeah, exactly.
Is the shining? Is the silver
if you
lining
don't
for them all?
if you don't fight for the Imperium, if you stray or whatever, I mean, they have no problem with just like harvesting you and being like, fuck you, get whatever, move on, heresy, stamping and moving on. But they also create amazing things called Space Marines, which are essentially superhumans who are just like badasses wearing power armor and shit like that, and you call them in, and when they show up, you thank your gods that they're there because they're badasses. And it's an incredible lore. There's a whole, I mean, I remember several times back in other jobs when I got really bored, I'm like, I'm gonna go back and read the lore of this and the history of it. And it's such a rich history that is, if they could tell the story of the Horus Heresy, which is essentially how humanity basically became fractured, it's a phenomenal story. It's incredible, and boy, would I love to see that someday. But I'm also like, hey guys, take your time, take it easy. I've referenced this before, and I'll reference this again. There is a guy who did all by himself, did a short film called Astartes. And this guy is a goddamn just amazing. There's a lot of fan-made shit out there, as there are for most fandoms, and a lot of it's like, This is top of the line animated shit. It is incredible. It's called Astartes, Astartes. There's 6 parts, and it is amazing. It's so cool. If you want to get a glimpse at what fucking Space Marines can do, there you go. It's pretty awesome. And that's probably going to be my recommendation for this week, now that I think about it, because I've been meaning to rewatch it again. It's so fucking good. It's so goddamn good. And this guy, by himself, did the animation, did the design, did the artwork, did the sound design. He did it fucking all, and it's goddamn incredible. It's amazing.
Now, let me ask you, do you think that the 40K universe is going to be best served with live-action adaptations or animated ones?
Well, here's the thing. They've done an animated adaptation. They've done an animated film. But the problem is the people that own it, which is Games Workshop, they make bad business decisions. They make really bad business decisions. And
these are the things I learned from Tex.
Right? They make very bad. They're kind of not unlike Wizards of the Coast in a lot of ways, where sometimes they make poor choices because they're very stingy. They're very stingy with their licensing, which I get. It's a lucrative thing, right? But you can open this up if you find the right partner to open this up. It's great. So they did a movie, an animated movie. I mean, they had like John Hurt as a voice actor in it. They had like a lot of stuff, but it was basically impossible to find the film anywhere because you had to pay like $30 to get a Blu-ray of it because there was like one distributor in Europe who was doing it. It was insane to get your hands on it. It was like they were begging you to pirate it. They're just like, oh, you have to pirate it because it's so difficult to get a hold of.
We're going to make this media so impossible to obtain.
Yes. So I'm excited that Amazon is involved with this because I think, you get an opportunity for them to open it up to find the distribution, to also fund it, right? Because we've seen funding for Rings of Power. Whether you like it or hate it, they put some funding behind. They put some funding behind Vox Machina. They put funding behind The Boys. They've made a lot of stuff. And so if they're going to head down this world, there's going to be money there. And I'm curious to see. And if you got Henry Cavill attached, who's not only a great actor, but he's a super fan. Like, this guy's in it. He's in it to win it. And you have him attached?
I have extreme faith that if he's calling the shots and he gets the last say, that it's going to be faithful. And then it's going to appeal to the fans that were already there. Then the question then becomes, is the broad appeal of these stories enough? Will this open it up, and then will it create I think the bet they're taking is that you let him do his thing and then it opens it up. And all of a sudden this great story that lies underneath here is now exposed to the masses.
Yeah.
And then it just explodes.
There are some things where I look at it, I'm like, good luck trying to crack that open because I don't know how you do it. There's a lot of stuff out there where you're like, boy, that's a tough adaptation. I don't think Warhammer 40K is that tough of an adaptation. I think it's actually the hardest challenge is the scope. It's like, because if you go too big, I think you lose people. Honestly, I think you start small. You kind of showcase the tidbits of the world, and you almost kind of take the first Ant-Man approach. Ant-Man followed Avengers Age of Ultron. The whole world is being taken over by robots. And then you go to Ant-Man, who's like, we're trying to steal some shit from a corporate office. Like, do that. If you want to focus on Space Marines, which I think is a safe way to go, there's a settlement on some planet that's being attacked by, name one of the alien species. Orcs is fun. Have them be orcs. Have them be Tyranids, the giant insect creatures, whatever. Have them being overrun.
It sounds like they're just making Starship Troopers.
Yeah, kind of, except way cooler. But still fascist overtones. And you just basically have these Marines. You get to showcase what they do. You have different stuff. I mean, you can start putting different stuff about chaos, because that's the other part of this, which is the dangerous side of things and how people succumb to madness. Like, there's so much you could do in such a small scope. You could actually, I think, manage your budget relatively well, because there are some large-scale shit that happens in this universe where it's like, hey, build up to that. Build up to your Avengers moment, but start small and build your way up there. And that way you can kind of get people attached to certain characters, or just you get to see what they're capable of. You get to see the world. And that's my opinion. That's where you go. Because if you go big, I'm worried you're going to lose kind of what's happening. Because I think while it's such a vast universe, starting small and letting people see the implications of the things that are small, I think that's a better way to go about it. That's just my opinion, though.
Honestly, I think that's handling new intellectual properties, these things that are already famous in their own regards. Putting them into a series is probably the best move that's come about lately, rather than forcing a movie.
Yes.
And trying to see if we can encapsulate these massive, broad stories into film, into 2 hours or something like that, and see if we get it, and then maybe we'll do something else with it. I think allowing things to breathe within a series has been one of the TV not being like the little brother anymore.
Yes.
to films, and having the same or similar production qualities and in budgets has been one of the best things that's come out of the whole streaming revolution.
I couldn't agree more. I think Especially with something like this, you can explore so much more in a season than you could in a movie. I still think you could do a pretty badass movie, but you're going to be leaving a lot of stuff out.
It's not like you leave a movie out.
Yeah.
Like, if you're doing these hour-long episodes, that's great and everything. But if you want, if there's a story that can command the movie, the presence of a movie, then that's still on the table too.
Yeah, I agree.
The series doesn't take that away from it. But if you do a movie and then you don't get it all and it flops and you try to get it all, going back and trying to put it into a series is almost like, well,
yeah.
I mean, it feels like what it is, which is cash grab.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think what streamers have done with shows that have been successful because of the storytelling capabilities, I mean, I think it's phenomenal. And I think it's great that we get to explore things like Arcane, like Witcher, like The Boys, like Sandman, like the list goes on and on and on. You get to explore this stuff in a way that used to be like, well, we got to try and make a movie. It's kind of like when they were first trying to make superhero movies. They didn't understand the way to do it. And you got just these little stinkers that just got farted out there. And people would show up because they're like, dear God, we want something to do with this. And so they were eagerly just eating it up, even though it was dog shit, but they didn't know any better because that's all they knew at the time. And then finally someone figured it out. And they're like, this is what we do. And it's the same thing with this. They're like, instead of just firing out a movie, let's take our time. Let's do this in a show. Let's let it breathe. And I think it's
give
all
people
for the
a
better.
chance, give characters a chance to develop, give people a chance to give a shit about them.
Yes, absolutely.
Because you're taking the time.
Speaking of having people give a shit about stuff, I think we've got a really great opportunity to explore fandoms in greater detail, but through the lens of a very special person that we all know and we all love.
You got the questions, we got the answers. All you do is ask. Practical, 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 practical. Ask Practical Doug.
Something terrifying happened to me there. For some reason, I must have hit something on my headphones and everything went quiet. I'm like, and I saw you dancing. I'm like, I think the music's playing, but I can't hear it. And I'm like, oh,
I'm providing good. I'm glad I could provide for you that assurance that it all sounded normal.
I was like, it's legit. I'm like, all right, that's cool. I'm like, oh, for some reason I must have hit this. But so this episode and this segment of Ask Practical Doug, which by the way, if you don't know what this is, welcome. Thank you for being here. There's a little Doug that lives in my head. His name is Practical Doug, and he guides most of my decisions in my life on a day-to-day basis. And I use him for good with important things where folks can ask me a question and say, I need a practical answer to this question. I say, I got you. And if you'd like to ask Practical Doug a question, all you got to do is join us on the live stream on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Central or 7 p.m. Central, depending on when we're doing it. Throw it in the chat. You can hit us up on any of our social medias at MindGapPodcast. Just use the hashtag AskPracticalDoug. You can hit us up through email, mindgappodcast@gmail.com, or join our Discord. Hit up the Ask Practical Doug channel and Ask Practical Doug. This week is it's kind of a unique thing. You posted this in the Discord.
As I often do, yeah.
Which I love. And really what this is it's kind of, you've seen these on throughout social media and stuff where they give you a list of things and they say you can only keep a certain number of them. Which ones do you pick? And this one is all around fandoms. And this is interesting because some of these fandoms don't know why they're on the list, but that's okay. That's not the point. But if you're just listening, I will read these through to you so you can hear them. And then if you're watching, I have it up on the screen here for you. But these are the things, all right? We have a whole list of fandoms, of things, content, and we only get to keep 3. So here's what we have. We have Avatar: The Last Airbender, Lord of the Rings, Marvel, Zelda, DC Comics, The Hunger Games, Gossip Girl, The Walking Dead, The Simpsons, Breaking Bad, Dragon Ball Z, Supernatural, Doctor Who, Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, Star Wars, Friends, Game of Thrones, Sherlock, and Star Trek. That's a lot. It's a lot to choose from, gang.
That is a lot. And yeah, there's some real question marks in there too. Like, I don't know how rich the storytelling is in Gossip Girl.
Hey, it was a fandom.
How shallow it was in Friends.
You know, Percy Jackson, I mean, I know there's some sort of fandom out there for that. I mean, I kind of wish that had come out when I was younger because I love Greek mythology.
I would have eaten it up. I mean, I know my daughter has eaten it up.
Yeah. So
she loves it. I never got around to it.
I've known a couple people
wife,
that really
who
like
teaches middle
Supernatural,
Obviously is in it.
Yeah.
I know some Supernatural nerds.
So, there's definitely, I guess I can understand there was a fervor at some point in time, or maybe there still is for some of these. Oh, B, they're in the Percy fandom. Rick is a trans ally. Well, hell, there you go. That's awesome.
I have seen, Rick has not been shy about being vocal in the right ways.
That's good. Maybe, yeah, obviously, and I don't think it's by coincidence that Harry Potter and Percy Jackson are right next to each other on this list.
Isn't
because
they're the they hit that tween that YA lit sweet spot.
I love Greek mythology, so when that stuff came out, I'm like, damn, I missed that window. Because
I read Edith Hamilton's mythology 3 or 4 times in high school.
I love it. That's awesome. That's so much fun. So let's break this down. So this is an easy choice for me. This is very easy because most of these I'm either just lukewarm on or don't care about.
Doug, I want to inject in here my little special condition with this.
Okay.
But not only can you only keep 3, but once your 3 are chosen, all the others are phased out of existence. They never existed. They cannot be consumed by anyone. All memory of them is gone. The world is now without whatever you don't choose. Whatever is not in those 3.
Still an easy choice for me. Still a very easy choice for me.
With that caveat being in there, though, I had to be sure.
No, I think that's great. I think that's a great caveat because it really makes you consider what's about
to not exist.
Yeah, what's about to not exist, Because it's different than being like...
we'll have to probably ignore some kind of like, if there were any overlaps, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you pick The Simpsons, and The Simpsons obviously covered everything in popular media forever. Like all of a sudden now there's some holes in that, in some of those episodes. If like you pick The Simpsons, but you don't.
Good news. I'm not picking The Simpsons, so that ain't on the list. So we don't even have to cover that. Newsflash, it ain't covered. For me, it's actually really easy. It's Avatar: The Last Airbender, Lord of the Rings, and Marvel. Those are my 3. And Avatar: The Last Airbender.
They're just like
bing bang boom. Avatar: The Last Airbender, pretty obvious. We've talked about it multiple times.
I'm a full agree on that.
Yes, that one is just like it's a phenomenal show, and I'm here for it. It's fantastic.
The world is better because of it.
It's a great world with really great abilities. I love the bending of the elements. I think that's phenomenal. It's so cool, and
I love the messages.
Yes.
I love the lessons it teaches.
Yes.
I'm a full agree that Avatar: The Last Airbender, it's on my list.
Yeah, 100%.
It makes the cut. It's the biggest no-brainer for me too.
Yeah, that's straightforward. Lord of the Rings, I think, just as a collection. And I'm talking about. I mean, yeah, I guess we can talk about both books and or films. I mean, I don't know how you want to classify that.
Absolutely, yeah. You can't have one without the other. It's the entire media franchise. Because I would not also discount from Avatar like the comics and the novels that have come out around that too.
The tabletop game, all that stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. It's
I think Lord of the
media franchise.
Right. I think Lord of the Rings is such a great story as well, just as a collective, because that is one of the rare stories where everything a character does matters. And what I mean by that is, for example, Frodo and Sam, if they give up at some point in time, the world's fucked. Right? Because the ring isn't destroyed. Spoiler alert. If Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli don't do their jobs and don't find their way through overcome all their trials, and then take their armies out to the Black Gates to call out Sauron and drive the armies away so that Frodo can do his job, not knowing whether or not Frodo is alive, if they don't do their job, Frodo's fucked.
If Boromir doesn't overcome his demons.
Right?
When it mattered.
Right. If the elves, if Rohan doesn't show up, like there's just so many things of people, everything people does matters. Whereas things like Star Wars, right? Return of the Jedi, they can blow up the Death Star, but if Luke turns to the dark side, they're fucked, right? Matrix Revolutions, everything that everyone's doing in Zion is pointless because Neo still has to go into the Matrix and fight, fucking Agent Smith. So it's like you're watching so much of this thing, see so much of the story. I'm like, none of this matters. It doesn't matter because we're relying on one main thing, which is this. So it's all fluff. Whereas Lord of the Rings, every single thing matters. And B brings up a good point. Brotherly love. There's so much in the Lord of the Rings of like, Frodo and Sam, just everyone coming together, unifying and with overcoming their despair to fight evil. It's a badass story. It's got magic. It's got elves. It's got everything you need. I love it.
And I would argue too, if we go into that, it set the table, and so much that's come after has been derivative.
100%.
It did so well at creating a world and setting boundaries and rules that literally almost everything that's come after. And what's strange is not too much on this list, actually. We could argue that Harry Potter probably draws from it. Game of Thrones absolutely draws from it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say anything about Percy Jackson, really. I don't think it does.
Yeah.
But it's drawn on some of the elements that Tolkien coded for us, and some of the things that he basically made canon for what we now all look at as high fantasy.
Yes.
And so much other literature has and great stuff has spawned because of it.
Agreed.
It's done so well.
Yeah. And then for me, Marvel, the Infinity Saga, triumph, absolute triumph. Like just what they were able to do in 11 years and 23 movies. Someday someone will find a way to topple that. But to me, it's damn near a masterpiece. It was the first time in cinema that people were able to connect this world together and do it successfully. They did it first, and they did it right. And people have tried to copy that, and they have failed miserably since. DC fucked it up. The Universal Monsters fucked it up.
Marvel currently is fucking it up.
Hey, I said the Infinity Saga. Anything after that, if they fuck it up, it doesn't matter. The Infinity Saga still exists, and that's what matters to me. And especially as I'm going back and rewatching it, just damn, they nailed some stuff. They had some great, amazing moments, and honestly, it all culminates in Endgame, where there's such great callbacks to things. There's such great character growth and character arcs that we see just like come all the way through, and it's such a great just cinematic universe.
So you're looking at the Infinity Saga as the anchor point for like what makes Marvel gets to stay in your universe because of that singular achievement, right?
100%.
Okay.
Because what an achievement, what an achievement to tie together 23 movies into an overarching story over 11 years. Like it has captivated me for well over 11 years, and I've been there to the movies to see every single one of those movies in the theater, and holy shit, what a ride. And that it will forever be in my heart of hearts. It's phenomenal.
And so then with that, obviously now DC Comics not existing.
That sucks because of Batman. Because I definitely love me some Batman. But I can sacrifice Batman because Superman's also in there too, and fuck Superman. So
I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, especially Superman 2. Couldn't care about that.
Yeah. Like
Big love, Jared.
Superman Returns,
Yeah, that's what I meant. Superman Returns.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other, like the rest here for me don't resonate as much. Now, I'll say my three are very similar to your three.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I already said Avatar. That's the lock, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then beyond that, my other two, I'm very like it's very wishy-washy, and the one part very sentimental for me too. So, Lord of the Rings and Marvel, I'm gonna get to because they're both in contention for me, and one of them definitely gets in. But the other one that got in for me was Zelda, and that right there is because that was completely sentimental for me and how I grew up playing those games, in almost all the different renditions of them, and how big a part of my childhood and now my kids' childhood those games have been. I don't want to imagine the universe without them. And it's been great because it's been these wonderful stories that have spanned decades, and they've innovated, they've changed along the way, they've done what's popular and what's not, and it's always been this core of like just really great gameplay, really great fun that nobody's ever actually gone and duplicated at all. Like there's still kind of the singular thing in video games that isn't really done by anybody. Everyone just kind of looked at it like, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to try and do that.
Yeah.
This whole thing that they've got going. Yeah, I'm not doing it. So then we get to Marvel and Lord of the Rings, because that's my last spot, is going to one of those two. And I had a really hard time because I really love Lord of the Rings. And I really love too, like I have a lot of great fond memories growing up of like the X-Men and Spider-Man and the comics and the shows and all that stuff, and the movies have been great. And I think at the end of the day, though, when I think about the one that I couldn't have the world without, it's Lord of the Rings.
That makes sense.
It's just everything you said resonated. So everything matters. It was told so well, and it just sets the stage for everything else in high fantasy, which I'm a big high fantasy nerd. Like I wonder too, like are Dungeons and Dragons, is that the same if the Lord of the Rings don't exist?
I'd argue no.
They couldn't be. Does it even exist? And at that point, I don't know. Then we get into some deeper philosophical stuff with this, which this doesn't beg deep or philosophical questions.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, it's Avatar, Lord of the Rings, and then Zelda.
We got a question from Mike in the chat who says, for Marvel and DC, you're only considering the films.
I'm certainly not.
I'm not. That's where most of my love comes from, is from the films. DC Comics, like I enjoy a lot of Batman comics. I own several of those, and that's the hardest one for me to be like, ooh, that sucks to say adios to Batman. But when I think of, like, there's some great Marvel comics, but again, the MCU is just so damn good. We could argue what Phase 4 is. All right, that's fine. I'll
look. That's for another podcast.
That's for another podcast. But for the Infinity Saga, top notch. I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know what that is. Like top notch. Like, yeah.
You're about to
shocker. You know.
The air.
Yeah, I was trying to do like, yeah, it's so good. Okay, it's very good. It's phenomenal. So for me, like, Marvel trumps DC in that regard. Although there's some phenomenal DC comics and stuff like that, and Marvel too. So, but yeah, we're definitely considering both in that world. And speaking of Zelda, real quick. What a missed opportunity. I know Nintendo's really protective of their stuff. How have they not made a Zelda movie? You know, like
I think it is honestly how. I mean, we're seeing right now that Mario movie coming out.
Yeah,
and there's been plenty of a kerfuffle around it, and they made one way back in the '90s. And I think with Zelda, they've just been that protective of the like. There was one show, there was a cartoon.
I remember that
in the '90s.
It was shitty.
God, it was. I went back.
Link was such an asshole.
I went and looked at him like, wait, this is nothing. And I think that's maybe what they're afraid of, is like it would in any way, like they dodged a bullet. That one is so far in the past that nobody remembers it.
Yeah.
But they've set up this world, they built this IP, and I think they're just. I think once the creator is no longer around, like once whoever right now is the guardian of that is no longer here, then probably the floodgate opens.
Yeah. I'm just saying that's a great opportunity to make.
It is, and we've seen the fake movie posters recently too, like
right?
With Emma Watson as
Zelda.
Zelda.
Yeah.
And I think was it Tom Holland?
Yeah, Tom Holland is Link.
I mean, look, these are top-notch choices for these
right?
roles, I think too.
Yeah, phenomenal.
I don't know that. I mean, I will say too, maybe what happens here with the Mario one might dictate if they give it a shot.
Yeah,
I would much rather see it as a series.
Although I would also argue that, agreed, I think, two very different properties, right? Mario, fun, silly, happy. Zelda could take a very different tone.
With Mario isn't really there.
Yeah.
Like the story around Zelda is so much deeper and could span so much. Like it's so much more developed as an actual. Like they actually tried their some. Mm-hmm. With Mario, it's just like, I don't know. It's like he's a plumber.
Yeah.
From New York, we think maybe.
Yeah.
We've made him there. And he goes through pipes and he stumps on turtles.
Yeah.
And then there's these things called Goombas,
eats mushrooms.
Which, it's a little bit uncertain as to what form of life they are. We think it's fungoid. But the canon there isn't as set as it is with Legend of Zelda.
Yeah. B says, easily I'm taking Lord of the Rings, Doctor Who, and Percy. I know I've heard nothing but good things about Doctor Who. I just that is one that I'm like, I don't have the interest.
Are tweeting at the Zelda account right now. Let them know. Look, I'm saying take your time. That's what I would say.
Yeah,
like,
and they have, but I'm also
right,
like,
I'm fine with that.
I'm like, listen, if you can do Lord of the Rings, you can do Zelda. Okay, I'm just saying that. Like, it's you can do it. All right, and I understand being protective of it and shit, but come on,
But I would
come on.
also say if you're going to do it, then you have to do it like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, right. Just
and
do
not
it.
like so many other things that have come before.
Yeah, I love that. B's got our back. I'm tweeting at the Zelda account right now, letting him know Mind Gap says make the damn movie. Yeah, do it. You know, because maybe then I would change my picks if it's good. Maybe it would pull it back in the full. But until then, sorry,
I think
you're off the table.
Yeah, is that there's not that landmark other piece of media. It just exists in video games, really.
Yeah, and I only played.
It was kind of hard for me, but that's like why I couldn't leave it out. Is because like it was such a.
I played the
game.
very first one on Nintendo. I played Zelda 2 on the Nintendo, and then I played Link to the Past on Super Nintendo, and then I didn't touch that property until Twilight Princess on the Wii, and I was like, I didn't even finish that game. It left me at that point in time. So my nostalgia's. You know what else they could do? They could do a fucking Metroid game. I mean, a Metroid movie.
Mm-hmm. I'd be for that.
That would be cool. Again, more serious tone with that.
Regular Nintendo, did you have the golden cartridge?
I did have the golden cartridge.
See, I remember I had a friend who had the golden cartridge, and like just going and like back then the mystery of that, like it was so attractive. Like, oh my gosh, what?
Yeah.
They made this game gold.
Yeah,
it must be amazing, and it was. It
was
for its time.
It's a great game.
And then A Link to the Past was just
phenomenal.
I have played that game so many hours devoted to that game.
So good.
Back before we recorded how much we liked to game in hours.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal game. And one I love to revisit. It's such a good one.
The ones that you skipped, and we got into this. It's not that you skipped them on purpose. The ones that they were part of your Passover. Is Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, and as B has already put in the chat, Majora's Mask it fucks so good. That game is just so fantastic. There were such great utilizations too of the technology of the time, in putting us in the 3D world. Like, and that's for me why that property stays for me, is that they did so much for my youth.
I didn't have an N64. I ended up getting a PlayStation, so that I skipped over a lot of Nintendo. Nintendo basically fell off my radar after Super Nintendo because I just didn't. You know, I got a Wii later on, but I barely played it. And then, I've gotten a Switch now, and, I finally beat Super Mario Odyssey on Saturday night. So, check. I did it.
Now, where are you on Yoshi's Crafted World? How far are you on?
We're pretty darn close to beating that game. So, we're pretty darn close on that one. So, but yeah,
that
Nintendo.
Game's a collector game, too, where you go around, you got to collect.
Yeah, we get what we get, and then we're done, as far as I'm concerned.
Pieces of the whatever, you got to collect all the red gold.
No.
Yeah, there's a lot to collect.
No, not doing it. Not going to do it. So, not going to do it. Anyway, that was Ask Practical Doug, and dealing with, you can only pick these 3 of these 20 goddamn things that are fandoms. So, hope you enjoyed it. Let us know what you think of those 20. Which 3 would you hang on to? And if you disagree, let us know in the comments what you think.
If you disagree. When you disagree.
When you disagree. You will. And that's fine. Because everyone has... Because also, I love hearing about what like you said, like Zelda for you, like I understand why you'd be like, yeah, I can't hang on to that. And I would love to hear any of these. I would love to hear some of this, like Gossip Girl #1. You're like, tell me.
I do want to hear that. And you know what? Another one too that I think that didn't get considered was Star Trek.
Yeah, and I totally understand why anyone. It's not something I really was into.
Star Trek and Star Wars are 2 that we didn't even touch on. I think that
Star Wars is dead for me, so I'm fine. Bye, Star Wars.
There was a time.
There was a time.
Right?
There was a time, and that time is gone. So,
will we be looking at Marvel that way in a few
Probably.
years?
But still, we'll always have Infinity Saga. Always.
We'll always have the original 3 for Star Wars.
Yeah, they exist. And they're ruined because of the prequels and the sequels. So
media can be... fantastic original media can be tainted by what happens
of course. You can fuck up a story any way you want. I mean, you can do that all the time. I mean, Jesus Christ, Yeah, post mind. What? Star Wars is unfortunate. I don't know what that...
Post mind rape? I don't know either.
I don't know what that means.
But I'm not as deep into the Star Wars lore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you just... I don't know. Anyway, regardless. B's like, I figured I knew what you were writing there, but I still don't understand what you mean by that. So
mind rope. It's a mind rope.
Mind ripe. My mind's ripe as it could be.
Squeeze those mind grapes.
Yeah, there we go. All right. Yeah, the first movie, Kylo does that. Oh, gotcha.
I was only half awake for that one.
Sorry. Thank you. Anyway, recommendations. Slotty, what do you got to recommend this week?
Okay. So I'm gonna keep tradition right now. This is gonna be so first one's gonna be an anime. So I've while we wait for the rest of To Your Eternity.
Did you watch episode 18?
I didn't.
I did.
I'm kind of waiting. I have started a new anime, Vinland Saga,
Oh, I watched the first season of that.
which is on Netflix and on Crunchyroll, but you can only get the English dubs if you're over on Netflix. And I'm really enjoying it. About 10, 11 episodes in, really enjoying that show. I also have the subtitles on in English, which is fun because the subtitles in English don't match the actual English words. And I'm just fascinated by the fact that like they're so wildly different too. It's like they're not even close to one another.
Yep.
So that's a fun experience. But a really fantastic story. If you've ever wanted to know what a shonen anime would look like if it took place during the historical period where the Viking and the Danes invaded England, this is right up your alley. I think it's really fantastically done. I'm really enjoying the story, having a lot of fun with it. And then the other thing I'm going to recommend is a show that I'm watching with my girls. It's kind of like a throwback, and we are getting into, again, for me and my oldest daughter, but getting our youngest initiated to Gravity Falls, which is such a fantastic. It was on Disney many years back. Only ran 2 seasons. It's very much along the lines of Adventure Time. And it's just such a fantastic show. Alex Hirsch did an amazing job with that. And it's so sad that it really wasn't allowed to go any further, and it's never coming back because Disney's involved, and Alex Hirsch is very vocally kind of against how they control your creative process over there. But just a really, really, really fantastic show. Amazing voice cast. And I very, very highly recommend it, Doug. I think even though there is some Monster of the Week stuff in there, I think you and Nat might like it.
Yeah, I've heard Kaya, who plays D&D with us, loves this show, and she recommended it to me. I'm like, why does that ring a bell? And I'm like, that's why. Yeah, she's recommended that. She's talked about that numerous times, so I'll have to add that to the list. I watched season 1 of Vinland Saga, and I was into it, and then the ending, I guess I didn't realize that there was also, like, it was ongoing. It just kind of made it seem like, and we're done.
Like it just stopped there. Okay.
It kind of got old for me after a bit, where I was like, Jesus Christ. So I was kind of with you. Like, if you asked me 10, 11 episodes, and I'm like, this is good. And then I kind of got tired of it. But, whatever. You let me know.
Now I'm on guard.
Yeah, be on guard. On guard. I'm going to recommend, like I mentioned earlier, the Astartes short film series you can find on YouTube. Altogether, it's like 13 minutes. And it's fucking awesome. Okay. It's incredible. There's 6 parts, and it's phenomenal. So just look up Astartes, 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 short film. You'll find it. It's fantastic. It's amazing. I love it so much. Check it out. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got to recommend for this week. So suck it. Thanks so much to everyone for listening. Thank you, Seth, for coming back and stepping in again. It's always a pleasure chatting with you.
I loved having the continuity of a second week in a row.
Yes, it's awesome.
This is great fun.
B says opening a new tab right now. Hey, if you like Warhammer 40K, if you don't, I don't know. You may or may not like it. But again, fan-made content, animation, sound design, everything.
I have the feeling in my head of like that some of those like a heavy metal style.
Nope.
Cartoon made of that universe. It just feels like it lends itself so much to it.
Yeah, this is I can't speak highly enough of it. It's so goddamn good. I'm gonna rewatch it tonight after we're done here because I want to watch it again.
I love that.
But so I just want to say, if you're hanging out with us here on YouTube, please hit the like button. It means a lot to us. We appreciate it. And then, write your comments, what you liked about the show or everything. The engagement helps us a lot with the algorithm. So please do that.
Interact.
Yes, interact. It's great. I love it. I love interacting with all of you.
Back.
Yeah, I absolutely do. So please do that.
I'll go on an all account and troll you.
Yay! Even Even better.
With an offer like that, how could you not?
Right? Subscribe if you'd like. Be sure to check out our Discord. Join the Mind Gap family there. If you want to help out a little bit more, check out the Patreon, patreon.com/mindgappodcast. Check out our merch at redbubble.com. And don't forget, we live stream on Tuesdays. I also live stream video games on Friday nights at 8 p.m. Central. So check us out for that. If you're listening to us on the audio format, thank you for listening. We appreciate you. If you didn't know, you can listen to us wherever you find your podcasts. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, Good Pods, you name it, it's there. It's out there. Just do us a favor, whatever you're listening to this on, just hit the rating, give it a rating, give it a review. It means the world to us. We appreciate that, and that stuff just kind of helps us grow. You can follow us wherever you have social media at MindGap Podcast. And be sure to check out 2east8th.com and 2east8th on all social medias to see what Justin and Drew are up to in their film world, which is pretty exciting. And
My boys.
Take care of our boys. So it's been another great week with having Seth here. Seth, you're the goddamn best.
Doug, you're the goddamn best.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you so much. And B, you're the best. And Mike, you're the best. Upset Duck, you were here.
Yeah, also the best at asking questions.
Yeah, and Goblin Plays that stopped by. Appreciate it. Appreciate all y'all. You're the best. You're
I love
so
the
much fun.
constant Goblin presence too. I will say that.
I did.
Big
Goblin.
fan of the Goblin presence.
Yeah, Goblin's great. Well, with that being said, I want to say, Seth, thank you.
Doug, thank you.
I realized I didn't prep you for that, but you did it great.
Okay.
And I'll say, chat, thank you. Listeners, thank you. Viewers, thank you. Thank you. You all have a dandy fucking week. Woo! You guys should watch Interface, also on YouTube. It's crazy and so weird. All right. Nice. I love all these. And I love the forum, you guys, or like the little thing you did for anime recommendations. Like,
I felt like it's overdue.
Yeah, I'm totally like that stuff. I have to get anime recommendations or just anything. Recommendations mean so much to me now from people that I trust. I have to add that caveat in there because, I get recommendations.
Trusted sources. Even though, I recommended you Cowboy Bebop and it didn't work out.
But that's the thing is that's okay. I still gave it a really good try because of that, and it's not always going to pan out, and that's fine. But hey, there can't all be fucking gems, all right? And that's what it means, That's what it is.
I think with anime too, though, there's such a why I like recommendations is there's such a wide variety of what you can get and what you can get into, and it's nice to know that if there's somebody who shares at least like, oh, you've watched this show, and this show. Oh, okay, you like those too, and then you like this. Okay, now I have an idea as to whether or not this is going to be worth my time to get into.
Yes. I do the same thing with Jill all the time. I have a really good hit rate with Jill in recommending stuff to her, just because obviously I've known her for over 20 years. So I would hope that at this point in time I would hope at this point, yes. Make a pretty good guess as to what she will and won't like. Because there's always I want to share this experience with somebody else, and sometimes that clouds my judgment. But there's nothing worse than forcing that and being like,
sitting there like,
they don't like it.
Oh no, they didn't react at the point when they were supposed to react.
Yeah, they're like, they hate this thing. Oh gosh, no. Yeah, that's the worst. So I try to get it right. It's like being like, I used to be like, people would be over and I'd be like, who wants to play board games? And people are like, I'm like, board games. And I get out the board games, get it all set up, and I'm like, they don't want to do this. But I'm pot committed now.
And then you met Eric.
And then I met Eric, and now I'm like, we're good,
He says it
I met the water cooler gang who fucking loves board games, who are making their own board game, which I can't wait to try, because we're going to stream that shit. So, what's that?
The water cooler game?
Yeah, the water cooler game, Board game fiends! Yeah, you all are the best for that shit. I love it. Because you all are also competitive in a fun way. Because I grew up in a world where being competitive with another player usually meant you got punched in the face. Because also games were kind of designed to be like that back then. You ever played Risk? Yeah. Fights. Relationships were ruined over Risk and Monopoly. Yep. That's just how that shit goes. Whereas now I don't know, you got to find the right group of people to be competitive with. Monopoly, right? Monopoly used to be my fucking jam. I loved that game. And then I played Settlers of Catan. I'm like, oh, there's way better versions of this game. Ryan is the worst to play with. Why doesn't that surprise me? Because the thing with Monopoly, here's the flaw. All right,
because he has that hard early bedtime, so it's like even if the game is still ongoing, dude's gonna dip because like Matlock's on, and he's gotta get in bed by 6 p.m.
That's yeah. He's addicted to monopolies. Of course he is. Well, here's the thing about that game. That game is fun, but there's a defining moment where the game stops being fun for the majority of players. Any game where people get excluded is a flaw in the game. And there's a point where someone is at least one or possibly two people are in the lead and everyone else is fucked. And that's how it is. And if you're losing, you're like, I don't want to play this anymore. But if you're winning, you're like, come on, let's just roll. Come on, let's keep. Who knows what might happen?
The endorphins keep going in.
Yeah, it's just like you're like because you want to keep people landing on your shit, and you're like, yeah. And it's such a fleeting feeling because it's almost like turning on a cheat code in a game. Because you can't lose. It's impossible. You've won the game, but you still want to play it out to enjoy it, but no one else wants to. It's just a flaw in the game.
This is what I'm going to propose that when Justin's back and you guys are talking next week, I want to see you guys go into this concept of should you tip a landlord? As we talk about property ownership.
Fuck you for posting that shit in the Discord, man.
When I saw that enraged me.
Tip them for what? For what?
Right? Like that guy's excuses, like, oh, who's on call? Like,
that's your job.
That's your fucking job. You right?
That's your job. It's like, you don't get to get tipped.
Yeah, because it's like, because the amount of money, like, I will tip somebody 5% of $10. But if you're asking me to tip you 25% of $2,000 or something like that, get fucked, buddy.
I love Biko's for painting white paint over mold. That's why.
Right?
Well, it's like,
you're the reason I can't open my fucking windows because you painted them all shut.
Listen, you tip fucking waiters because they are underpaid. That's part of their compensation. Yeah. You get gratuity for doing typically hard labor services. Like someone who's going to get your bags out of your car and take them to your hotel room. Or possibly movers. I don't know. It gets weird in some of those situations where you tip people.
It does with the movers.
But when it comes to landlords, like, hey, you own this property. That's on you. And if you want to fix things and make sure that your property is kept up, that's on you. You're not underpaid. You just, fucking unbelievable. That's absurd to me.
That video just sent a shock of rage through me.
I know that I'm going to automatically add a gratuity. I hope that's fake.
Oh, and if you don't, like, I'll kick you all. Like, just every day.
Because here's the thing, I'm not inherently against landlords, but you have to be a good landlord. You know what I mean?
Nobody buys any property in Monopoly. Everybody can just go around the board and make money.
Yeah,
everybody wins.
Yeah.
Everybody gets lifted up.
That's true.
Nobody goes and owns that property.
Just don't land on taxes. Just don't land on that. But yeah, I don't understand. I hope he gets a joke because there's just
I don't think it is
because that is someone who is.
Landlords
Grossly
literally do feel like they are a class of people. Like they're almost putting themselves in like the whole like they are a separate
the feudal system
who deserve to be treated differently. And then they also feel like they are beset upon by all the the poors who they have to endure owning like living in their properties.
Well, to them, I would say then don't rent out your property. You need people to make your money.
Right. It's a weird little like bit of cognitive dissonance that goes on where they like resent the people who are going to rent from them while at the same time being completely reliant on them.
That's like opening up a restaurant and being pissed when people come in to order food. Like, oh God, will you just get out of here? It's like,
look, there are certain times when that is allowable.
Hey.
Like when closing was 9 and somebody wanders in at 9:10.
No, you didn't own the place though, Slotty. You worked there.
That's true.
I worked at a hotel, and when they would threaten me with, I looked at all sorts of other hotels in Chicago, and we chose this one. I'm like, maybe you should go to one of those other ones you researched. I don't fucking care.
Somewhere else. I don't give a
shit. I would prefer you don't be here. Do you know why? Because if you're
What I've
complaining
seen
to me
of you
now,
so far,
if you're complaining to me now, you're just going to make the rest of my days miserable for however long you're staying here. Fucking go somewhere else. Like, don't be here. I don't give a shit. Now, the owners are like, sell it out every night. I'm like, fuck you. Our rooms suck. We need to have some wiggle room here. 100% capacity is terrible for me. It's a stressful situation. I would prefer not. I would like to be at max 90%. Give me some wiggle room. The wintertime's the best because nobody's here. What room do you want? You can have it. But yeah, I don't know. That's the landlords, like, I don't know, man. I don't understand. Yeah, there's definitely some sort of like chip on their shoulder. You know, they're like, we own the property. Therefore, I'm like, therefore what? That sounds kind of like a pain in the ass. Like
I've had quite a few.
Mm-hmm.
I've never met a good one.
B, you're just so supportive. Speak, Doug. Fuck them. They're unwell. So true, King. Mind Gap spitting facts for real right now. You know, get them. Yeah, I don't know. Listen, anyone who puts a chip on their shoulder because of something they own or of their title, they can get fucked. Like, I don't care. Some
asset they have that they are exploiting to earn a living off of.
It's a business.
Kind of like, even like then a very loose term, I would say.
Yeah, and listen, it's a business. It's like any other business as far as I'm concerned. You own property. You are charging someone to stay in that property. It is your responsibility to meet every law and code, to keep it up to code. It's your responsibility to make sure that person, of course, they cut corners.
Like, I'm sure there are some good ones out there who
Yeah.
might even be deserving of a tip because they do such a good job.
No. Let me stop you there. Let me stop you there. No landlord deserves a tip.
None of them do.
Yeah.
But maybe there's some ones out there who go above and beyond, who are really good. And I bet you too, they only have like 1 to 2 properties.
Yeah.
Yes, a lab. All landlords are bad. Or are bastards.
I appreciate, like, I had a landlord when I was in college, right? That guy knew what he was doing. He was renting out a house, kind of a shitty house, to college kids. Like, he knew what he was doing. And he was a relatively cool guy. He was basically like, listen, just don't fuck the place up. You know, like, that's kind of how he was. I'm like,
okay, Doug, you made me think. I had one landlord in college who was pretty cool.
Yeah.
He gave me some ayahuasca. Which
Dude.
you didn't have to.
Whoa.
And he also
way before it was cool.
Oh yeah, way before it was cool. Literally said to me, like, whatever you do, don't do this alone. And then I went and like immediately went and did it alone.
Seth currently he doesn't realize it. He's in an ayahuasca trip right now. None of this is real.
Can't imagine why I couldn't remember that guy. But yeah. Also too, he was like 1 year older than me.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Right? And so it's just like, yeah, you're my landlord. Cool.
Okay.
But then every other one was just an outright asshole.
My friend roomed with a landlord's sons one time, and the kid was mad at my friend, and then mysteriously his rent increased. See, that's Well, first of all, this is something that could transcend into something way more crazy.
It's another podcast.
It is another podcast altogether. But I mean, first of all, large companies like bought up a lot of houses during the pandemic. You know, large single corporations. Like one in particular owns most of Atlanta. Like they own most of the available housing there. So that shit on itself is its own thing of bullshit where they do that. Also, there was a software company, I think, that's being sued because essentially they allowed people to check, like landlords to check and see how much rent was being charged in a particular area, the highest amount of rent. And then basically people became cartels and they saw that and they all raised their rent to that certain level. They price fixed it and they fucked people over because they're like, well, this is what everyone else is charging. And they were able to do that using this software to do that. So no one is, the idea, because I've learned more about this from being in the Discord and people have been shitting on landlords because for the longest time I was like, what? I mean, you own property and you're going to rent it out. Like, it's like, whatever, it is what it is. But if you're doing it in a predatory fashion, that's fucked up. Like, because the thing is,
inevitably they do.
People treat rent like taxes, like it only goes up. But rent should be a flexible, variable thing based on supply and demand, right? Like, you shouldn't be able to see like
what you're providing.
Yes.
Like, you shouldn't be allowed for a 1-bedroom apartment just because it exists in a particular area to charge, $3,000 a month for that. It's one bedroom should be capped.
Mm-hmm.
There should be a cap for how much you can charge for a 1-bedroom apartment anywhere in the country. And you shouldn't be allowed to exceed it.
Yeah, I think some of that stuff is just exorbitant. I understand the idea, like when you get into cities, there's just more people, there's more options, there's more competition, there's more like
it's even more predatory.
100%. Yeah, it's crazy, and oftentimes that cost of living should be reflected within what people are making, but that's not always the case. You know, but it's wild for that sort of stuff. But the idea that if you have a certain mortgage every month, and you're just finding more and more ways to squeeze money out of that, I'm like, I don't know, man, that seems fucked up. Like, I would love to be able to own a property, and
that B's comment.
B's fucking killing it tonight. It says, not gonna lie though, my landlord Jill is cool. My computer activity is being monitored. No, it's like if I bought a home and I pay $2,000 a month in a mortgage, and I could charge $2,500 a month, that's fucking great. I pay for my mortgage and I make $500 a month. That's a good deal. But the concept of that should be that $500 extra is then portion of that is going to go back into the property to make sure that it stays kept up.
At the state that it was when it was originally rented out.
That you're going to check and make sure you are going to have your monthly expenses. You're going to have regular checkups on the HVAC system. You're going to have people come, are you in charge of shoveling or someone else? What I mean? Like, you're going to, that should be used to cover the cost.
Renting is that, hey, guess what? Homeownership sucks. And we're going to take this off your plate. You're not going to have to deal with it. But then when you just have to live in the squalor of the brokenness that you would have if you'd owned the place anyway, it's just because the money that you're paying for rent isn't going to get any of it fixed, and you're just paying more than a mortgage in most cases.
Yeah.
Like right now, talking to people I know who are young, who are renting, their rent for places that are half the size of my house, they're paying more than my mortgage.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, they're also not able to qualify for a mortgage.
And not only that, I mean, when you try to apply for this shit, you got to go through a credit check. You got to do like first month's and last month's rent,
down.
And then you got to do like security deposit. Like, there's all this shit you have to go through, which is so just. I used to like when I was renting for a long time, I was like, dude, fuck owning a house. Like, that's too much work. But then, you realize that it's an asset, right? It's something that you can leverage, and it's actually something that leads to generational wealth. It's something you could pass on, and you could resell it, and you could, it's actually a really big deal to be able to have access to this, and it's just gotten worse as time has gone on. How the fuck did we go down this road? How did we get here? Why are we still streaming? What are we doing?
Because, Doug, this is just how it goes with us.
I love this. This is what I want more of. I want more pre-show, and I want more post-show. Because I want the streams will become special
then.
Then.
Fall off,
right?
Like,
because this is special.
There.
This is special secret time for the people that watch the live streams. You know what I mean?
Right. This is what what, Doug. Here's what you do. You release these to the Patreon folk.
Well, well, here's the thing. I want to get there at some point when we are able to monetize. The live streams are going to be special. These are going to be special things, and when they're done, they're gone. Or I'm going to keep them in a secret place where only Patreon people can check it out, because I think that, and I want to make them extra special where we do special segments that are only for the live stream. But until we actually get this counts towards our monetization, so I don't want to gatekeep it yet. So,
Well, but you got to give something like what am I getting with the money I'm giving you? And it's like what you're getting is access to the stuff. Like, you weren't able to make the live stream, but you're such a fan. Cool. Guess what? Now you got the pre-show and the post-show.
Yeah.
Because you're part of our Patreon. Guess what? You couldn't make it to there. You get it anyway.
Yeah.
And here they are, edited for you and setups that way. It's like, here's the pre-show and it's nice little compartmentalized thing. Here's the post-show. Because sometimes like maybe you develop a cadence where you're like, what? Our pre-shows are all right, but our post-shows, our post-shows are sweet.
That is true. I would like to do that. It's just time. That's what it is.
And I fully understand that, because the amount of editing that has to go on to get the clips and everything like that, It's immense. It's a load.
It's a lot. But you know what? That would be pretty cool because right now, if you're a Patreon subscriber, all I can say is thank you because we're not giving you anything. It's like our tip jar.
I've never been short on ideas for how we can wring some more out of this.
Yeah, I want to provide more value. That's just not where my head. That's just not what I'm good at. So you got to pay extra for the landlord VODs.
Right.
That's right. That's what it's all about. Yeah. So I just need more time. Is what it is. Or at some point, if we make money, I'll hire somebody and they could fucking help me out with this stuff because it's a lot. It's a lot to manage on top of everything else. So
I know a guy in Tennessee who needs work.
That's true. We all know that guy in Tennessee. Diddle-doo. All right. Well, this has been a blast. And B, thanks for hanging out with us and being a part of the post show. You're awesome. You're amazing. I hope you're doing well. And we join us.
Recovering from a 16-hour Overwatch extravaganza over the weekend.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah.
What they played like Overwatch
16, for? Yeah, they put 16 straight hours, and I was there for a healthy portion of it, maybe 6 to 8. But there's statistics that back this up.
B, what was your win-loss ratio? Put it in the chat right now.
That stuff was not counted. The progress,
what's your KD ratio? Let's go.
Progress that we made through Endless Dungeon. That's what was measured.
That's what was measured. You know what? Friendship. That's what was measured.
For our 10-minute quick play queues.
Oh God. Yikes.
Yeah, quick play matchmaking.
Oh dude, it was terrible. Somebody else. the true actually floor 3. Well, congrats on your 16-hour extravaganza. I'm proud of you. And you know what? Time well spent, I'd say.
Indeed. I had a great time.
That's good. That's awesome. Stay tuned. Not sure what game we'll be playing on Friday, but we'll figure it out.
If you let me, I'll keep extending this.
I know.
With
can't.
New and different topics, and
I gotta go.
I got somebody who's waiting on me to put them to bed.
I gotta get up at 4:30, so I gotta go. So
fucking A. Yeah, you gotta go. All right, Doug.
Love you, gang. You're the best. We'll see you next time. Take it easy. GG's.